So, Alex, how much did you make last week?
15K.
And that's not in South African currency, that's in USD, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Amazing. What is it that you sell for people that don't know?
I sell an offer that helps people build their YouTube channels and their YouTube businesses.
Amazing. Do you enjoy what you do?
I fucking love it.
Amazing. Amazing. You've been working with us for a while now. Um, you've actually worked with us on a very close level, like not many people have. It's been a year.
It's been a year and 20 days.
Crazy.
Mm.
You've seen so much progress. It's insane. It's awesome to see. Because we
Mm.
did one of these pretty early on when you
In
had
Spain.
starting, yeah, in Spain, when you started to see very good results already, but you're on a different level now, which is fucking insane. Proud of you,
Mm.
for real. It's awesome to
Appreciate
see.
it, mate.
What, for those that don't know, what were you doing before you started working with us?
Um,
The good old days.
the good old days. Yeah, miss that. Um, I was at university. I was on my placement, wasn't I? So did 2 years of uni, had a year out, and on that year out, I think I quit like 3 jobs in like 10 months or something. First one, I was like scraping ice off of cars, and getting paid like 1.5K a month to work like stupid hours. Then the next one, I was just like copying and pasting on Excel spreadsheets, and I wanted to die. And then the other one was like a fake sales role where I just did sales through email. Um, I got like no commission at all,
Yeah.
and was getting like what two grand a month, not even that. Um, then I came across you, mate.
You did. And we never looked back since. What would you say was like I was Harry this, I'm curious. Like what was the final straw for you? The thing that made you realize I'm not doing this. I can't.
That's a good question. For me, I was when I was on that placement, I remember with all of those jobs that I quit, I just looked at the people who were like 5, 10 years down the line of that job. I was just like, fuck, like I don't want their life. And it's nothing against them. It's just that doesn't make me happy. And I remember that first job that I quit, my area manager like called me in to try and talk me out of like leaving the job. He was like, hey Alex, like give it 5 years and you can be doing what I'm doing. You could be making, 100K a year. And that just terrified me. I was like, I I don't want your life. Like, no offense. I just don't like that wouldn't satisfy me.
Why not?
Um, because there's no value to it. Like, I've always been someone where if I don't see the value in something, where like the work that I put in is what I get back,
Hmm.
I can't do the work for it unless I really enjoy that thing. If I'm not passionate about something and I can't see the like what I'm gaining from it, it feels like a waste of my time and I can't make myself do the work. And it was the same with university, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, those 2 years that I was at uni, I just cheated on all my exams before I dropped out.
Hmm.
And I was the same with college, I was the same with school. I never revised or studied for anything because what I was learning, like I didn't see the utility in it. I was never gonna use these things that I've learned. And to this day, I still haven't. Um, and that was what I saw in those jobs. I was like, fuck, it doesn't matter how hard I work in these jobs.
Yeah.
I have very little control over my progression.
Mm.
Whereas, and for me, I was like, okay, I could go back to uni and I could wait this out, but then I'm just back to square one. Cool, I finished my degree. Where do I go after that? Just back into another job that I don't hate. And
Mm.
so at that moment, I had a choice. I was like, okay, do I put myself back in this position where because I was upset, bro. I was not happy with my life at all. And you remember that. Um, I was like, okay, do I want to give myself the opportunity to fall back in that position, or do I take the opportunity that I have now and make that short term sacrifice for the long term reward?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, when you say short-term sacrifice, what do you mean by that?
Well, now it seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Um, at the time, it felt like a really big decision. And that's because of
Yeah.
the lack of belief that I had and the uncertainty. I hadn't given myself any evidence at that point to know if I was capable.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, I looking back on it, I personally feel like it wasn't that hard, but at the time, I guess it was because the lens that I was looking through it at the time was someone who hadn't, used all of that work ethic before. Um, but the sacrifice I made is, you distance yourself from people. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices. I can't, go out and be at the pub every weekend or going out drinking. I, made the choice to not surround myself with certain people who didn't align with my goals. And it's nothing
Yeah.
against those people. We're just on a different path. Um, and so I went through a bit of a lonelier chapter, which I think is necessary at certain points of your life. Um, and so that's kind of the sacrifice that I made, is working, taking sales calls on my lunch breaks, in my
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5, working, not a day has gone by that I haven't worked on this thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the sacrifice I would say it is it's not something you can kind of, it's the side hustle that everyone makes it out to be. This takes like commitment. And it
Mm-hmm.
takes you going all in with that thing if you want to get the best results.
For sure. For sure. That's with everything, though. People are looking for handouts, which is
Mm.
crazy to
Yeah.
me. Um, I mean, I get why, bro. Can you imagine we lived in a world where people like that existed? It would be a lot of fun. It
You know
wouldn't
what
be.
though? Like
But what
I
I'm
don't.
saying, like, do you know what I mean, though? Like, it's what people think that exists, and it's like it's such a shame. I think the online space has a bad rep because there's crazy guarantees.
Yeah.
There's people offering and saying that you can make crazy money, crazy quick, and it's BS. Like it's taken
I
you
don't think there's any like fulfillment in that though, because
a
the
million percent.
biggest thing that I've gained from this is, not the thousands in my bank or the places I get to go. That's amazing, and I'm grateful for that. But the thing I'm most grateful for is the person that I've become on the way to achieve that. And you don't get that by getting a handout, you know? Like you build so much confidence in yourself when you can do something that you thought was impossible or that you weren't capable of doing. And then doing that at a high level, um, it really builds on your belief systems.
1,000,000%, dude. Like I've spoken about this a little bit. Everyone's focused on the what, but it's the who. It's who you need to become.
Yeah. It's like you told
No,
me, like, the quickest way to make 10K a month is just become the person who makes 10K a month.
yeah,
That stuck with me.
literally it. Like that, you just have to look at that, and it takes work because you have to be disciplined. Like it's
Yeah.
not easy. Like, dude, I know for a fact there's some days because I know it happens to me. There's some days that you have that alarm go off, and you're like, I want to throw this out my window, and I want to go back to bed.
Yeah.
Like it happens, but you have purpose, and you want to get out of bed for a reason. But another thing is like, you just know you have to do it because you know what you signed up for, right?
100%.
Like it's crazy to think, like you said, you really have like turned your life around. Like it's insane when you really think about it. And that's why I say I'm proud of you because like I've seen it firsthand every step and it's
Yeah.
awesome, fucking
I
sick.
appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. It doesn't, it's weird though, because I expected that I would feel different when I went and achieved these things, but I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because it didn't surprise me. Like,
And
it didn't surprise me at all. When I hit my first 10K, when I hit my first, 15K, the reason it didn't surprise me is because my identity already was there. And people think the wrong way around. Some people think like you have to achieve the thing and get the thing, and then your identity will catch up. But it's the other way around. And like if your identity matches up with that 10K, 15, 20K a month closer, then your reality will just be a byproduct of that. That's what I think. So like, for example, a lot of like new guys who join the community, they'll reach out to me, ask for like advice, or on the coaching calls, for example, that I do. And what I always say to them is that, like, give yourself as much evidence as possible to show that you are capable of doing it, you know? And there's, you know, of course you can have like the affirmations and stuff, and don't get me wrong, I believe in all of that and I do it, but you need to have action that goes along with that. And you need to give yourself like actual evidence and proof that just comes through doing the uncomfortable things.
For sure. It's like the affirmations, the visualization, the manifestation, it means nothing without action. Like, people think if I do that, I'm going to be successful. And it's like, no. All that it's there for is to remind you. And there's this great thing that someone keeps telling me, it's a mentor of mine. You need to be reminded more than you need to be taught. And that's all that it's there for, to remind you of your why.
For sure.
Your burning building. All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. What would you say has been like the biggest help for you getting you to where you want to be today?
I think surrounding myself with the right people. And what I mean by that is, you know, there's two things. There's like the more tangible like things that I did, which I can touch on. But the biggest thing that I can think of when it comes to mind is just the rooms that I've managed to get into because of the skill set that I've got. The people that I'm able to surround myself with, whether that's mastermind events, whether that's just networking online or within my company. I got to meet my CEO the other day, and that was a really cool experience. And when you surround yourself with those people, you know, other closers doing 50, 70, 100K months, and you realize, and an absolute testament to them, because every single one of them worked their arse off. And I have no doubt about that. But what I realize when I meet them is like, damn, these guys they're normal people. You know, you can just, you know, they're not special people. Yes, they worked fucking hard, of course. And they took risks, and, you know, they're incredible, inspirational people, but they're no different to me and you, you know? And being in those rooms with those people and coming to that realization, that is what flipped the switch for me. And my fuel when I first started out, what motivated me is I would see people online having, you know, interviews almost like this, right? And I'd be like, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it, surely.
Yeah.
And that was like my motivation starting out. I was like, there's no reason why I can't be doing this. And then being in those rooms with those people, I went to LA and I met a bunch of closers, and that was a huge shift for me. And that's what unlocked my earning potential massively. It motivated me so much. So I'd say just being around those people. And I always say this to, you know, people in the community as well. I used to put people on such a pedestal, the people that I would watch on these calls. I think, damn, like, must be nice. Those people are, you know, they're special. They've got a special gift. And that used to be me. That used to be my mindset a year ago. And I disassociated myself from those people. And it's like you were saying earlier, there's mornings that I wake up and I want to hit snooze on my alarm clock. There's sometimes where, you know, I don't do the work that I should be doing, and I'm lazy. I'm not a special person at all. And I always say it to guys like on my coaching calls, like when I teach you this stuff, don't think that I'm any different to you guys. I've literally just done the thing that you want to do. You don't have to be a special person. You don't have to have some ridiculous, you know, discipline. Yes, it takes work and sacrifice, but anyone can do it if you just let time do its thing and you have the, you know, massive action to go along with that.
Sure. That's all it is. You need to know what you want to do, and you just need to take action. Like the like you said, anyone can do this. They can. Like you're never gonna know if you don't start.
Mm.
And that's the biggest thing. Start. Fail. Fail
Oh, that was
forwards.
the hardest part. Honestly, I can tell you now, the hardest part of this whole journey was just literally getting started in the first place.
Yeah.
I actually couldn't even tell you that I've found anything difficult after that. Of course, there's been moments of that uncertainty, 100% throughout the whole journey, whether it's like, I think I touched on this last time we did one of these. I was scared to do my first practice sales call. I was scared for my first interview. I was terrified for my very first like real sales call or my first outreach video. And then it was like, and then it compounds. Like you just need to lean into that uncertainty. And then it's just like a muscle that you build.
Yeah. The only way you fail is if you stop.
100%. That's literally it. Like, just don't quit. Just like do a tiny bit more each day. Like, it's guaranteed.
Yeah. Just don't stop. Like, that would be my biggest advice to someone who's like either just started or like looking to start. It's like, don't stop and just try and beat yourself yesterday. It's just like 1%. And that compound effect is crazy. It's crazy. That, like in the gym, you have newbie gains.
Yes.
It's the same with this. Your first year, it's the most exponential growth you will ever see.
It's insane.
It is insane. Like, dude, you're in Cape Town right now.
Yeah.
You take sales calls. You sell 9K, you earn 10% commission. Imagine your past self a year ago. You told them that. Wouldn't believe it.
I wouldn't. And it's funny because I used to like, when I used to get like a 5K PIF, we would go crazy. And for me, I was like, oh my God, like I couldn't, like, that was like the peak for me. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't even, but I couldn't even imagine being able to do that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I got 5 8.9K PIFs in a row the other week.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have told me that 6 months ago, let alone a year, that would have blown my mind.
Yeah. It really just is like, you have to believe it to be true, and you just have to go. And a big part of what you said is getting in the right rooms and surrounding yourself with the right people. Because Alec, do you feel like you could have done this alone?
No. Like, it's so hard to give yourself, like, getting started is so hard because you haven't given yourself the evidence yet.
Yeah.
The closest thing that you can do to that is look at other people who have done exactly what you want to do. I think there's so much utility to that, because why go in blind where you can learn from people who have made the mistake so that you don't have to? Like, you don't need to go and reinvent the wheel. If someone else has done it, like, why can't you? Especially when so many other people have done it. And it's like, I used to, when I looked at the online space before, this whole process has been going through this of me, my growth has actually been me unpicking the limiting beliefs that I used to have, whether that was around money, whether that was around like myself and what I'm capable of, or the online space, for example. And when I used to look at the online space, I always just thought scam, like scam. They're just trying to sell me. And of course, yes, there are scams out there. There are some terrible mentorships and there's some terrible courses out there. Don't get me wrong. And you need to do your due diligence, and you need to look for people who have good testimonies and a good track record. And I mean, videos like this, for example. So obviously do your due diligence. Don't just, click pay on something there's no proof of, right? But you have to have that element of, like, you're not going to know how are you meant to know if nothing in life is guaranteed apart from, you're going to die and will probably pay taxes for most people. Um, but so there has to be that element of overcoming that, that fear, which is just normal. Be worried if you didn't have any fear doing something you've never done. But it's
Yeah.
now that I look to, for example, like for my future, I want to get into real estate, not to go down a tangent, but my instant thought now is, okay, how do I fast track this, and who can I invest in that's going to teach me how to get into real estate? That's the first thing that I think and that I'm doing. I don't think, let me try and reinvent the wheel and figure out, by reading a few books, how to, get my first rental property.
Mm.
Because like, what's the point? Someone else has done it. I just want to learn from that person.
Sure. It would be a big fat waste of time otherwise.
And time is money.
Time is money, bro. Time is way more valuable than money.
Yeah.
Time is so much more valuable.
And that's another thing now that I look at it. When I see like, okay, I can make $900 in less than an hour, I view my time now as, that's another big shift I made, is I view time as an investment.
Mm.
I view my attention as like a currency.
Yeah.
And so what am I doing with my time? Like me going out and getting, very drunk on a Friday night, like I see that as a very bad investment of my time. Or spending time with someone who, may not, be a high frequency individual or something. I'm not saying you have to, work and not go and enjoy your life, but I feel like the time that you spend and the people you surround yourself with, you should be surrounding yourself with people who, you enjoy being around, people who support your goals, people who make you a better person or contribute to your life. And I think that's so important.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. What was like, because I think this is something that a lot of people do. You mentioned it earlier, it's that lonely chapter. It's like you're not quite where you want to be, and all the people in your life are definitely not where you want to be. And that's like the lonely part. And I'm curious, like, how different does your, that saying that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, how different are those 5 people to what they were over 12 months ago?
Very, very different. And I get a lot of people in the community who are going through this stage reach out to me about this, and they talk about it on the calls that I do. And it's a big theme for every single person pretty much who has started, within Enigma. They all go through that chapter of their friends are like, oh, what are you doing? What's this thing? Or they don't want to tell their friends. I didn't tell anyone when I started this for months. Like for months, I kept it quiet. I didn't want people to know because I didn't, I cared so much about other people's validation. And you can't expect, like, here's the thing, you can't expect people to not think what you're doing is weird. There's nothing against those people, and you shouldn't, isolate yourself from people per se, and you shouldn't diss people because of it, because, you're doing something completely foreign to a lot of people, and it goes against the norm that we've kind of been programmed to believe. So I don't think, and there's a fine line between, removing certain people from your life, but then also, having anything against those people, and so that's number one. I'd say the quality of, the friendships that I have are a lot stronger, because the people who support you the most, they'll stay with you and they will understand, and it takes that uncomfortable period of like, hey, I remember I'd get texts like, you coming down the pub today? No, I can't. Oh, like, you too good for us now, blah, blah, blah. And the people who stick around. And I have, less friends who I am very close with. And you find that when you start doing something like this, your friends start doing better. And because I've, succeeded in other realms, I see my friends now looking for mentorships for other things that they want to do, or they're, have better belief in themselves for certain things that they're trying to do. And that's very rewarding. And so you can lead by example, and you can make your environment better by being the person to actually kind of lead the way in certain things.
For sure. Got to be a leader in sales. That's
Very
key.
true. Very true.
You touched on something there. I call it like the real friend test. Like
Yeah.
by doing something like this, by taking like a quote unquote risk and doing something that isn't the social norm and sticking through, you'll find out who your real friends are. Like you said, they're going to be the ones who are still with you. Like for me personally, when I started, I remembered there were a lot of people who laughed, everything. Same thing that you said. Are you too good for us now? It's like, what?
Yeah.
No. Stupid. Such a stupid question. It's
But I
just my
think
priority.
for some people, and they will see that as a mirror, you know, when you see someone who, I'm reading a book at the moment, a really good book, called the Richest Man in Babylon, and it
That's a good.
touches a little bit on this. But if you go against the grain, you've been brought up in the same environment as other people.
Yeah.
When you go and do something different, even though you have all the, you know, you've had a very similar upbringing, etc., and you go and do something different, it kind of shines a light on someone else's own insecurities, or because they're not doing the thing that necessarily they want to do. And so you can't expect, you know, I think it's normal, and you shouldn't like look at other people like, you know, down on other people for having, you know, anything against it, I suppose.
For sure.
But it's a tough one, and it's going to happen. And that's just a part you need to get over. And that's why I say to the guys, you know, in the community, like, this is part of it. People are going to, you know, almost get offended at what you're doing sometimes. People are going to, it's going to hold the mirror up to other people. But are you going to let that hold you back from getting what you want?
Exactly.
Because if you go
It's a
and make
big
it work, then you won't regret it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. No, you bang on the head, really. Um, yeah. And so, what are your goals, man, for the next month, years,
Yeah.
all that you know of?
Um. So next month, so my offer, because we're working with a bit of a newer client, we keep doing this thing where we open up and then we close too many deals. So we have to basically, it's been a thing. We've been taking sales calls and then we basically have to pause for like the rest of the month. So for the past 2 months, I've only done a week of sales calls each month. It's probably going to be the same next month, but I'm going for at least 20K month next month. Very, very doable. And then following on from that, when we're able to take on more clients more consistently, 30K a month. I want to do that by at least, you know, before the second half of the year. That's really the goal.
Still. What I would say with that one, it relies on external factors. So don't be hard on yourself if you don't hit it because of those external factors.
Oh,
But
100%.
if those external factors are there, you can still do it, man. I'm gonna hold you to it.
Please do. Please do.
And so is everyone here. You've just signed a very big social contract. So if you don't do it, you're gonna look like a mug. No, I'm kidding.
I am.
No, I'm kidding.
Can we clip this out?
Yeah. No, you wish. No, I'm kidding. Final thing, really, because it's crazy that, like, again, you're saying that because, like, dude, that was what you were earning a year, 12 months ago.
Well,
Exactly. In 1 month. And that is like, it's again, the progression's amazing to see. What would your advice be to that person, your younger self, who was looking at this space but hasn't started yet? What would you say?
for a very, very long time, I had always, like years, I'm talking years, I'd wanted to be successful online. And I mean, I tried copywriting. I remember when I think just before I started university, I didn't stick that out. And then I looked back when I was at uni, hating uni. I was like, if I just stuck with that thing, I could have done it. And the only thing that held me back from doing it every time was just my belief systems. And it's everything is belief.
Yeah.
And I feel like before you start, you're not going to succeed at anything if you don't believe you can actually do it in the first place. You know? And for me, that thing that gave me the belief was seeing the other people who had done it, who were in my position, who weren't any different to me, you know, going and doing it. And for someone else, it might be something else that gives them that level of conviction within themselves. But I think give yourself every single reason to believe that you are capable of doing something first. And then it will just seem like a no-brainer. And, that might take you, putting pen to paper and writing out a list, every reason why you can succeed, reminding yourself of all the other things that you struggled with in the past that you overcame, or the things you didn't think you could do. And if you haven't got anything, then you have an opportunity to try something, and I think the biggest thing is, number one, belief. You need that level of belief in yourself that you can even do it. If you don't have it, then you need to give yourself that belief, or just brainwash yourself to think it. Because what have you got to lose? And the other thing is, like, you need to consider the risk, what you consider more of a risk. Is it more of a risk, to go and invest in yourself, whether that's financially, whether that's with your time? Is it more of a risk to invest in yourself, or is it more of a risk to stay the same and give yourself the opportunity to not change over the next however many years, And for me, I was like, I remember when I started this and I first invested in myself, I was like, you know what? Even if this doesn't work out, I'm going to be better off knowing that I tried, because I just couldn't live with myself knowing that I had an opportunity and I didn't take it.
Yeah.
And I could never live with myself knowing, or having that thought in my mind of what could have been. So I could have died happy, I could die happy knowing that I tried and it didn't work out and it wasn't meant to be. But I couldn't die happy knowing that I never tried the thing that, was, the potential that was out there, the potential of who I could have been and what I could have become. So I'd say, give yourself the reason to believe you can, find out, what is going to cost more, inaction or action. And then also, a big thing for me was, I'd never invested in myself before, and I remember when I first invested in myself, it was a very small investment, and that terrified me, man. Like, it's something I procrastinated on for ages, and it was the weight of the world. It was one of the hardest decisions I made, but the most pivotal decision I made. And since then, I'd invested, 20 plus times that within myself, and I continue to, invest in myself to get in the rooms with the right people, and investing 20 times that, I didn't bat an eyelid. But to make that very small initial investment in myself when I started out on this journey, I procrastinated so much. But the investment didn't change at all. Didn't get any cheaper, that's for sure. But what did change is I just became braver, and I just had more belief in myself. And so that's why I think it's just belief, and then just actually just being brave. Yeah. It's going to be scary. Do you want to let that fear hold you back from getting what you want? That's a choice you got to make.
The
hardest part is not the work. The hardest part is getting over yourself.
Yeah. Becoming the person. Yeah. That's what it is. Ask yourself, again, what would the person who's achieved all my goals do in this situation? Would they surround
100%.
themselves with people who are doing it, the people that are going to motivate me and hold me to higher standards? Would I learn from people?
For sure.
Or would I try it all on my own, not surround myself with anyone, stay with my bad habits, snoozing, scrolling?
Yeah.
When you look at it,
a new guy in the community reached out to me the other day, and I sent him a voice note because he asked me just for like some advice, because he wanted to get to his first, I think it was 5 or 10K month, or or I think he's already doing 5K, and I was like, how do I, what do I need to do to get to my next 10K a month? And I talked to him about, it's about your identity. And so you need to look at everything that you do through the lens of the version of you that is making that 10K a month. What decisions would he make? Because if you're making decisions based off of, the current, whether that's the frequency that you're at, not to get all woo-woo, or just the level of identity that you currently have, you can't expect anything to change.
Yeah.
And like doing the same thing over and over again and like expecting different results, that is like the definition of insanity, like literally.
Yeah.
And so you need to look at life through a different lens and have the awareness of the person that you want to become, and your actions by default will just align with that. And if you're doing the actions outside of that, you can't expect anything to change, or you can't expect to be that person. And so, in default, when you're having, there's a hard decision to make, or there's uncertainty, what I've always done is I've just looked at, okay, who do I want to become? That's the guy. What would he do right now? And that's going to feel so uncomfortable because it's challenging the perception of you that you currently have. Yeah. But if you are able to ignore that discomfort and let go of it and make the decisions of, the best version of yourself, then by default, you're just going to get what that person, would achieve.
Mm. Yeah. That's simple. It's that simple. And it isn't easy. But it's a fucking lot of fun. That's for sure.
Too right.
But anyway, dude, pleasure speaking with you as always. And big things coming. I have no doubt.
100%. Appreciate you, brother.
Likewise, bro.